This is 2022's Old Man. Warning, spoilers ahead. We open up on an intricate piece of art, and our focus starts to pull us to a quaint little cabin in the woods. When we go inside the cabin, we meet Old Man while he's sleeping, and he shoots up out of bed with a quickness. After gaining his composure, the Old Man starts calling out to see who's around the cabin. He slowly gets to his feet, and he starts stumbling around the cabin while calling for his dog. Nothing seems to answer him, but he keeps creeping around the place. The Old Man keeps looking around, but all he finds is a wet spot from the dog. He cleans it up and he scolds Rascal for being disloyal. He steps outside to call for Rascal one more time, but he gets no answer. The Old Man talks about how they promised to be there for one another, and he's upset that Rascal isn't repaying him for all his love and care. He grabs a jar off the shelf to drink, and he warns Rascal that the penalty for being disloyal and leaving is death. The Old Man then goes over exactly how he would carry out the punishment, and he continues to drink from the jar. He heads over to the stuffed head on his wall, and he makes it clear that no one leaves him. Okay, he's gonna feed you, house you, and all you have to do is be there? Count me in. Suddenly, there's a knock at the door, and the Old Man grabs the shotgun off the wall. He opens the door to find someone that isn't Rascal. He grabs the man by his collar and pulls him into his house. The man tells him that his name is Joe and he's sorry to bother him. The Old Man just keeps asking him where Rascal is, and Joe tells him that he has no idea where his dog is. He mentions that he got lost in the woods, and he followed the smoke from the Old Man's chimney. The Old Man points out that Joe doesn't look like a hiker, and he admits that he's not. Then the Old Man asks if his wife sent him out here to check on him, and Joe assures him that he's not there to spy on him or take him away from his wife. I'll say whatever you want if you keep holding that gun on me and asking me where Rascal is. I'll be Rascal for crying out loud. The Old Man says that he might just trust Joe, but he leaves him a reminder of what'll happen if he betrays that trust. The Old Man offers him a seat in the living room, and Joe sits as the electricity starts flickering. Old Man cranks the electricity back on, and he turns his attention back to Joe. Joe says that he was worried the Old Man might have shot him at one point there, and the Old Man assures him that he was just about to. Joe tries to cozy up to the Old Man, but he reminds Joe that there are still more questions to be answered. The Old Man tells him that it's just him and Rascal up here, but Rascal likes to run off like he just did. He mentions that he takes extra precaution when a random stranger appears on his doorstep, and he tells him to sit on the couch quietly until he asks him a question. The Old Man sits down to ask Joe what he's doing out in the woods by himself, and Joe assures him that it's a long and unbelievable story. I don't think that the Old Man or Joe has anything but time right now. We're gonna hear about what happened later on anyway. Why not just get the first lie out of the way now? Joe doesn't look like a hiker or nature guy of any kind. Kinda looks like Dexter without the flair. The Old Man admits that getting lost in these woods can happen to the best of them, but he points out that this cabin was built so far off the path so that people wouldn't happen across it. The Old Man admits that he's paranoid and suspicious, but he thinks that he's justified in feeling this way. Then, the Old Man asks Joe how he can be sure he's not a psycho killer, and he even admits that Joe even looks like one. Joe promises that he won't kill or eat the Old Man, but the Old Man doesn't know if he can trust his promise. Watch Joe be the Old Man's caretaker and he has to go through this every day that he comes out to check in. He'd deserve a raise then. Finally, the Old Man sits next to Joe, and he asks him the most important question of all. He asks him if he's a door-to-door salesman, and Joe promises that he isn't. When it comes time to see what's in Joe's bag, he finds essential hiking things such as trail mix, first aid kits, and toiletries. When the Old Man finds Joe's knife, he gets a little defensive again, but Joe assures him that the knife is just for protection. Joe admits that he used to visit his grandfather when he was little, and he'd take him fishing out in these woods. He's the one that taught Joe to carry a knife on him when he's walking through these woods. When the Old Man turns to put the knife on the mantle, Joe tries to run for the door, and the Old Man fires a warning shot. This Old Man's a little trigger happy, but I love it when Joe starts talking by saying he was just thinking, and the Old Man immediately tells him that he wasn't. Then Joe messes up and says that the Old Man seems crazy to him. That's it, Joe's gonna be missing like Rascal here in a little bit. The Old Man wants the two of them to simply admit to each other that they won't hurt each other, but when he finds out that Joe is about to wet himself, he sends him to the bathroom. The bathroom is an indoor outhouse. He literally tells Joe to follow his nose. Ugh, no thank you, that belongs outside. When the Old Man asks Joe if he knows where he is, Joe answers by saying somewhere in the Smokies. The Old Man makes it clear that that only narrows it down to 180,000 acres, and he asks how he came to get lost when he used to come to these woods with his grandfather. The Old Man takes him to the window, and he points out that the sun will set in 20 minutes and rain is coming too. He tells Joe to stay the night so he can stay warm, and he'll point him in the right direction in the morning. Joe wants to make sure that he wouldn't be imposing, and the Old Man admits that it would be nice to have the new company for a bit. After the two of them come to an arrangement, the Old Man throws on his apron and gets ready to brew them a fresh pot of coffee. The two of them sit as they wait for the coffee, and Joe makes small talk by asking why the Old Man doesn't like salesmen. No offense against salesmen, but does anyone really like salesmen? The Old Man admitted that he used to be a salesman when he was younger so that he could make ends meet, and he hated the lying nature of being a salesman. While the old man talks about how he hated this part of his past, Joe seems to be hating every bit of it, especially when the old man mentions his wife. The old man changes the subject and tells him a story about a man that wandered through the rules, but he can't seem to remember the name of the man. Then during a flashback, we see a Bible salesman who visited the old man to spread the good word and make a quick buck. When Joe asks him what he did with the Bible salesman, he admits that he invited the salesman in, and he offered him the same thing he's offering Joe, plus carrot cake. As you can guess, the old man didn't buy a Bible. The Bible salesman got put to the test, and he didn't necessarily pass the test. The old man tries to sway the Bible salesman from his path, and it almost works for a moment. Joe thinks that the old man hurt the salesman, but he admits that he didn't hurt him. He just put the fear of God into the Bible salesman. Joe keeps pushing though, and he wants to know exactly what the old man did to the salesman. The old man admitted that he slipped some chemical into the salesman's coffee to make him sleepy, and Joe gets really upset about all of this. The old man continues by saying that he tied the salesman to the stove while it was still hot, and he used the salesman's tie to blindfold him. The more the old man makes a mockery of what he did, Joe seems to get more concerned about him. Joe seems more concerned about the fact that the old man actually found all this entertaining too. I'm gonna need to know what's up with Joe. Now he's starting to sound like a police officer. The old man tells him that he ended up setting the salesman free, and he warned him never to come back. Then the old man asks Joe if he wants a drink of shine, but Joe doesn't want to drink anything that the old man brings him anyway. The old man gets Joe to admit to a drink after he reminds him that they aren't going to hurt each other. When the old man opens a tin to grab some shine, Joe nervously makes his way back to the table. Joe doesn't seem too keen on trying moonshine for the first time, but the old man is so used to it that he's looking forward to that gasoline taste. Next, the old man throws on his smoking robe, and he offers Joe a smoke. Yet, Joe isn't the smoking type. Now it's time for some backstory on Joe, but it's literally the most boring part of the movie so far. And may I remind you that this movie is only 2 people in a cabin. Joe works for his wife's family, and he doesn't seem too happy about it. In fact, the more they talk, the more Joe feels like something larger than him is trying to smother him no matter what he does. Joe starts to break down a little bit, and the old man tries to console him in the most realistic way possible. He tries to empathize with him and reassure him that it's perfectly normal, but Joe still doesn't like this feeling. The storm starts letting up outside, and the old man tells Joe that it's time to work. That's definitely the old school way of getting over things. Having yourself an existential crisis? Little manual labor will get you right through that. They head outside, and the old man asks about Joe's wife. Joe mentions that she's being a bit distant with him, and the old man goes on about how his wife used to be able to go off forever about nothing. The old man tells him that talking to his wife might actually help, and Joe gives him a little past about them. Joe's wife grew up in money, and he grew up from nothing. Joe says that there's one embarrassing issue, and he admits that they've had trouble conceiving. This has led his wife to see someone, but Joe won't tell him who. Joe tells the old man more about his wife, Jeannie, and he admits that he's a truck driver with his father-in-law's moving company. The old man thinks that Joe should be proud of what he does. The old man literally chooses this moment to bring Joe back to the original question of how he ended up here to begin with. I kinda thought that no one was worried about that anymore. Joe retraces his steps, but suddenly he remembers hearing something off the trail that made him wander. He heard a moan, but the old man even knew what he was going to say. Joe remembered passing out after leaving the path, but when he came to, he was all turned around. He walked until he came to a waterfall, then a clearing, and finally the cabin with the smoke coming from the chimney. Next, the old man talks about how the Cherokee people that used to live in this area spoke about a purple lake that they could never find. The old man went looking though. He pulls out a storybook to show Joe, and he admits that he came out to find the healing lake when he was emotionally damaged. He followed a moan when he first came to the woods too, and he ended up fighting a mountain lion that hangs over his fireplace. Ever since then, the old man has lived in the cabin, and he's been out there with Rascal the whole time. Then Joe tells him that he's got him now too. And I'm wondering if this is some sort of purgatory where the next lonely heart takes the mantle when the previous man gets too old. The old man tells Joe to keep the oven going, and he goes to look for something for them to eat. Suddenly, Joe is struck with a thought about Jeannie, and he admits that he wasn't completely honest. Joe takes his knife from the shelf, and he admits that he got into a pretty bad fight with her before he came out there. The knife has blood staining it, and he takes it and his bag before heading out the door. Then, the door slams shut, and the old man finds a man in black wandering the cabin. Rascal! This is Rascal. Now I'm really needing some answers. It's the last 15 minutes and I'm finally getting some twists and turns. Rascal accuses the old man of telling stories again, but the old man just wants to know where Joe went. Rascal assures him that there hasn't been anyone else there, and he shows that he had been out searching for food. The old man asks Rascal what he did to Joe, but Rascal is not playing nice. The old man grabs the shotgun, and he swears that he needs to know what happened to Joe. Rascal doesn't think that he'll actually pull the trigger though. Rascal says that they keep going through the same story over and over, and he knows that all of this is a routine that he's tired of. He calls the old man weak, and he says that this is why his wife left him. Rascal then points out that the old man is the one that actually worked for his wife's father, and he's the one that had the accident. Oh snap, the old man is Joe? Then who's Rascal? Rascal pulls out a vial of purple water, and the old man can't believe that he's found the purple lake. Okay, who's Rascal? God, the devil? The old man's guilty subconscious? The old man drinks the purple liquid, and the chest opens up in the middle of the floor. A woman's hand reaches out, and Rascal tells the old man to get into the chest. He sticks him in and shuts the lid, but the old man lifts it up to find that he's in a different place. He walks down a hall with pictures, and a woman can be heard moaning at the end of the hallway. The old man turns into Joe, and it's confirmed that the two are the same. They make their way down the hallway, and they peek inside to find themselves at the cabin again. Jeannie stands inside the chest to greet the old man, and Joe sees that the Bible salesman is fulfilling Jeannie in his room. Joe takes the shotgun and handles the problem, and the old man tells Jeannie that he doesn't want to do this anymore. The old man asks Jeannie to forgive him, and she tells him that it doesn't work that way. Then, Joe takes his knife and handles Jeannie next. I know I usually save all this for the end, but this was phenomenally done. Then Rascal kicks the chest shut, and he sees the old man for what he is. He tells him that he needs to rest now, and the old man lays down in bed. Rascal tells him that he'll come back later, and he leaves the cabin. Then the old man jumps out of bed, and we've officially come full circle. Then the credits roll. Okay, this is the best slow burner thriller drama film I've seen in a hot minute. It did a good job of not giving away anything until the very end, and I appreciate it for that. Stephen Lang is always a plus too. Give it a shot. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more like this one. Comment what you think I should watch next, and I'll see you in the next video.